again with another video. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. So there has been some developments in the war in Ukraine. So right now there is essentially the second Battle of Kursk happening. So for those of you who know your history, the Battle of Kursk was Eastern Front battle during the Second World War. Forces of Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union near Kursk in Russia. It was a really big tank battle, and ultimately the Soviets won. It happened about over the course of about a month and a half. Soviets gained territory along the front. It was basically Manstein, Hoth, Model, Guderian, Yodel, Georgy Zhukov, Konstantin Rokossovsky, a whole bunch of others. So this was a pretty big battle during the Second World War. And essentially there is the second Battle of Kursk going on in 2024. So there was August 6th was the initial incursion. I'm recording this on August the 12th. So this has been going on for about a week or so at this point. So during the ongoing Russo-Ukrainian war, the armed forces of Ukraine launched an incursion into Russia's Kursk Oblast and clashed with Russian armed forces and border guards. At least 1,000 troops have crossed the border. There's some serious movement, because if you look at the map of Ukraine, there has not been any movement whatsoever along the front. Obviously, there's been the Russians advancing. After the capture of Avdiivka, they've moved towards Ocheretine. Trying to push towards Malinivka, Novopetovka. Obviously, they're trying to push towards this road because they're trying to sever Ukrainian logistics, because if you're bringing troops and supplies to the front, this is a pretty important road to bring troops and supplies into Chasiv Yar, around New York, around all of these. So that's been mostly the movement in the line lately. It looks like two big salients almost. You got a Vuhledar salient, a Toretsk salient, maybe even three different salients. It looks like a bunch of rolling hills and mountains along the front. It's like, I don't know, there's a lot of Russian advances. They've tried to push towards Chasiv Yar, they've pushed in the Ocheretine direction. So when the Russians were doing that, they also were trying to push near Volchansk. Didn't really get too far because they didn't really bring that many troops to bear. And then the Ukrainians, 1,000 or so troops have pushed. I don't know exactly how far they have so far, because in the fog of war, you don't really know what's going on. So according to Wikipedia, this is the current extent. Just a little bit in terms of the overall map, but this is a lot of territory. Forces have pushed up towards Koronivo. I probably did not pronounce that correctly. Zud. I don't know. I don't really know how to pronounce most of these town names. But there's been a lot of Ukrainian soldiers in this area pushing towards Kursk. You're not going to go in any further than, a little bit. But this is a really big development, mainly because the Ukrainians have captured more territory here than a lot of Russian gains lately. There have been gains in Volchansk, there's been gains around Chasiv Yar, there's been some gains in Ocheretine, Avdiivka over the past couple months. But if you look at it, the Ukrainians have captured a lot of territory here, which is about as much as the Russians have accomplished in the past couple months. Russians have tried push around Vovchansk. They've tried to push, kind of stretch the line of control for the Ukrainians to pull troops from the line of contact over towards the Kharkiv Oblast. But this is definitely a big win for Ukraine, because this is a, well, it says armed incursion. Basically, it's Ukraine invading Russia back. So, big morale win, propaganda win for Ukraine, and devastating for Russia, because if you're Putin and you're trying to cover all this up, it's hard, because you went into Ukraine and all the people thought Ukraine was on the defensive. And for the most part, they have. There's been some counteroffensives along the line of contact, but now that Ukraine is actually pushed into Russia proper, that's definitely a moral and propaganda failure for the Kremlin. So, very interesting scenario. Essentially, we have a second Battle of Kursk. The Battle of Kursk during the Second World War in 1943, and essentially we have a second Battle of Kursk in 2024. So, very, very interesting things are happening in the war in Ukraine. We'll see how far this incursion or invasion goes. I think it's more just psychological on the part of the Ukrainians, trying to, morally and kind of just downgrade Russian morale. So, we'll see how far it goes. They probably won't go any further than they already have, but you never know. So, Second Battle of Kursk is happening. We live in very interesting times. So, I'm going to sign off. I'll see you all in the next video. Deuces.